Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So this is an ASMR football channel, as you full well know, and I've been putting off this video for a little while because it was the way I wanted to do it. It was going to be like an hour and a half long, and I just haven't had the time and energy to do it this summer, I'm afraid. So I thought I would do maybe a revised, shortened version. I'm going to do a video really shortly to let you know, predicting the top 5 in most of the major leagues, mostly in Western Europe. I've also had lots of requests to do kit videos, so I'm going to definitely do Premier League this year because I forgot last year. Despite you reminding me, it just completely passed my mind. And I'll try and do one for the Championship this year as well. Particularly seems Swansea, my club, is in that division. So those are 3 videos to look forward to, and hopefully you won't be too disappointed with the reduced format of this video. But I thought I really want to do the video, but it was just, I was so put off by thinking about going through all the leagues and doing the final match day on them all. So I thought, do you know what? I'll just focus on Premier League, Championship, Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, and where's Liga? Liga, and see what else I can do. If I can fit in some more, then great. But if it's getting a bit too long, then I'll stop. So I hope you like the video. Hopefully what we'll get around to doing today is looking at the final positions, having a little talk about who won, who qualified for Europe, and who got relegated, and that way we can set up the new season quite nicely. Let's start. So we'll, as always, start with the Premier League, which of course Man City won narrowly, albeit narrowly. There was a certain turning point in the season where we just felt it was inevitable. Man City just could not stop winning, I think. Just have a quick look. Matches. So, including the last... Obviously, they lost the FA Cup. The last day of the season, how many did they win in a row? Look at that. Champions League, they didn't, obviously. Arsenal got only a draw. Had they won, in retrospect, then they would have won the title. Look at that. They did not lose. Aston Villa in December, so they didn't lose in 2024. And that's basically why you win a title, ladies and gentlemen, because you don't lose. And technically speaking, I'm just trying to see the Real Madrid results. 3-3 and 1-1, so they didn't technically lose in the Champions League either. Which I suppose, I watched the FA Cup final, it did make it even that bit more special for Man United, because you know, they were a practically unbeatable team towards the end of the season. 3 losses in total, and it seems that they all came in 2023. So congratulations to Man City, of course. Although, you know how I feel, I hate it when the same team win a league multiple times. So I was gunning for the Gunners, see what I did there, to win it, even though nowadays I support Tottenham a bit more because of the Welsh players in the squad. But I grew up liking Arsenal because Aaron Ramsey played for them, so usually just support whoever's got a Welsh player. So Tottenham is the one that, in this area of the table, that I like the most. And yeah, so I was really pleased for Aston Villa. Obviously, well done to Liverpool, well done to Arsenal, commiserations as they didn't win the title. It's 2 years in a row now they come second. It was slightly closer this year. It's crazy that after all those games it just comes down to, you know, one result, isn't it? But there we are. So Liverpool finished in Champions League. Aston Villa did for the first time ever. They did get in the old format, I believe, the Cup Winners' Cup, but no, they haven't been in this Champions League era. So congratulations to them. And to be honest, it's kind of exciting because in my lifetime, Aston Villa have always been underachieving achieving, but we understand that from Birmingham. It's the second largest city in England, and technically you should really have a club from there, you know, up towards the top. Understandable that they've got a London-based team, and the big cities of industrial northern cities of Manchester and Liverpool, but arguably in terms of, you know, population and you know, pool of youngsters that they could possibly get, they should realistically be a team from Birmingham in the upper echelons of the Premier League. So they do have, it seems, ambition, and you know, they're trying to sign big players, and there's lots of rumours of different players they're trying to get, and it's quite exciting, actually. I think a really exciting time for Aston Villa. They're showing signs that they don't want to just do a one-off and sink back down next year, so it remains to be seen whether they can juggle the Champions League and the league in such a competitive league. Apart from first place, is incredibly, you know, we're talking about Newcastle, Man United not getting Champions League football, Tottenham, Chelsea just getting European football but not Champions League football. Oh, sorry, Man United obviously won the cup, so they're in the Europa League, but so yeah, so Tottenham narrowly missed out on Champions League, but some of you in the comment section said it's probably fair, and next year, this year, will be more of a there'll be more pressure on Ange to get into the top four, but I think he did well this first season, particularly with some of the players, or lack thereof, that they had at times, injuries. Although, well, some of those have been addressed. I did see them playing with Ben Davies and the Brazilian, I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, in central defence the other day. But, you know, it's because Van der Ven's probably having a break, and Dragoshin, who I think will have more of a part to play this season, because he was outstanding in the summer for Romania, just absolutely amazing. So he's got to, you know, play a part now that they've got European football as well, even if he just starts in Europe. And I'm kind of surprised that someone really big like a Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich hasn't come in for Romero. So if they can keep him and keep Son, then, you know, signs are that they could push into the top four. Not to ignore Liverpool, they've obviously lost their great leader, but Arne Slot is going to be fantastic for them. He does particularly well in cup competition, so having watched his Dutch team do so well over the last couple of seasons in the Europa League and Conference League, I would say that at the minute they're probably one of the favourites for the maybe FA Cup next season. It remains to be seen how he does in the league. He's obviously done very well in the Netherlands. And Arsenal, I'm expecting more of the same from them next season. I don't see any reason why they would drop off. I think Chelsea are, with all the money they've spent obviously, and the fact that they're got a new manager, unpredictable, they might finish top four next season, they might finish lower than they have this season, who knows, but they've certainly got the players and the talent, and they're all young, you know, they're only going to get better, the players that they have bought. So yeah, Chelsea will be an interesting one to watch. Newcastle similarly, never know what to expect from them. They obviously aren't in Europe in the new season, so it'll be interesting to see whether they will be stronger again like they were 2 years ago. I think juggling between two competitions hampered them in the league at times. And Man United, I think it's top four or the chop for the manager under the new regime, so that's something to keep an eye out for as well. They have to finish higher than 8th, you know, they're one of the most supported clubs in the world. West Ham had overall a fantastic season. They've only strengthened, we'll talk about that when we come to looking at the new season. But, you know, they're putting their money where their mouth is, and obviously they've got an amazing fan base, amazing stadium. So West Ham have done quite well there in 9th, but they would want European football, but then everyone does in the Premier League, don't they? It's so competitive. Crystal Palace did excellently to finish mid-table. Absolutely fantastic from a club that I said would go down. Brighton finished lower than expected again. The European competition, change of manager, loss of some key players that were bought. Equally, I think Bournemouth really punched above their weight. I thought they had a fantastic season. Well done to them. Fulham, lower than I expected. I thought they were going to push a little bit more up here. Obviously, they lost Mitrovic. They didn't really replace him, and then the players they did try to replace him with had injuries. And a player of that calibre is so difficult. You know, strikers are the hardest to replace, aren't they? So, yeah, Fulham did okay to be up there. Wolves did brilliantly, and played some nice football at times as well. Everton, obviously, they were teetering on the brink, but got out of it again. How many seasons can they do that for? Brentford were much lower down than I was expecting. Nottingham Forest exactly where they probably will be as long as they're in the Premier League. I find it, you know, I think I said that they would push on, but they just haven't. And when they change manager as well, I think they'll probably go down next season, or be in this position again. But there's no shame in that, you're still in the Premier League. Luton, obviously, very plucky. Burnley really struggled at times. Sheffield United as well, only 3 wins, 5 wins for Burnley. I think that Luton's combative, defensive style won over quite a lot of people, although it's not the most attractive way to play football, but I think their passion and their heart, and the fact they stuck with they did stick with their manager, didn't they? I'm going to say that like really confidently, like they stuck with their manager, and then in the comment section be like, no they didn't. Yeah, Rob Edwards. So, you know, a Welshman. Did a great job. Hope Tom Lockyer is able to come back in some capacity, but rumours in the Welsh press that he will have to retire after his collapse. I hope not. So that's the Premier League. So I won't predict. I'll do that in a different video. But once more, congratulations to Man City, and well done particularly to Aston Villa for breaking into that top 4 the way that Newcastle did last year. Is always a really exciting thing to do. And it is common, we'll see, across the top 5 leagues, that we have this one team just kind of having a really stellar season. So that's the Premier League. Tell me in the comment section how you think your favourite team did. Championship. So for the Welsh clubs it was pretty underwhelming, to be honest, although we didn't get into a relegation battle as much as it looked like we were going to. Congrats to Leicester and Ipswich and Southampton, who went up in the playoffs. Really tight race towards the end. Obviously Leeds will be gutted. Honourable mention to West Brom and Norwich for getting into the playoffs. I read somewhere that this is one of the most difficult leagues in Europe because of the high quality and the lack of, you know, differentiation between the teams. There's so many strong teams in this league and they all want to get promoted to the Premier League, so just to be in the top 6 for Norwich and West Brom is just fantastic. I said at the start of the season I read an article in which it did like 100 sims, maybe they used Football Manager, I guess they did, and in the majority of cases Leeds didn't go up, and I think that they were predicted heavily to go back up, certainly above Ipswich, who were the surprise package, and yeah, it didn't happen for them, even though they had a really good squad and they played some brilliant stuff at times. They were blown away in the playoff final by Southampton, playing a really attractive style of football, and obviously I'm a bit gutted because he's Swansea's ex-manager and he just wasn't supported financially at all. Promises were broken, and so he jumped ship. I think we were like suing him and all that stuff for money. because Southampton snapped him up, as would anyone with the right mind. He's going to do fine. I can see Southampton doing quite well in the Premier League next year. I think Ipswich will struggle a little bit, but I think Leicester might be okay as well, so it could be time for some of the teams that go up to stay up, and someone else to come down. Well done to lots of teams that nearly got into the playoffs. Hull, Middlesbrough, and Cardiff in 12th had a bit of an up and down season, but I think their managers signed on for an extended contract now, so that's really good news. Swansea had an abysmal start and a massive change to the personnel. We had 3 managers in the season, and then after completely overhauling the squad, getting rid of all the wide players, having a really sort of thick midfield and sort of wing backs, the new manager that came in then doesn't play like that at all, and so didn't have the squad to do what he wanted to do, and it's not going too well in this summer either. We haven't recruited as quickly as we would have liked, and but we need to have wide players, and that's what we're concentrating on in the transfer market. I have faith in the manager that we've got, and I think that we could give a little bit of a surprise to some teams. I'd like to be around here next season. I'm going to personally go and watch. I was going to buy a season ticket, and then my brother's got one, but then I sort of thought, well, I'm not really happy with the recruitment so far. I'm not excited about the players that they're bringing in yet. So I'm just going to go to a couple of home games, and I'll get a season ticket next season if we do better. And then down the bottom, Birmingham, again, after what I think I said about teams from Birmingham needing to be right at the top of the table. Birmingham, who I think it's really difficult to understand what they did, but they were doing brilliantly. Sacked their manager, brought in Rooney, who did really badly for DC United. No, I quite like Wayne Rooney as a person, but got rid of a manager that had them really high in the table, and then brought in Wayne Rooney, and then they plummeted, and then they got rid of him, and they just couldn't do anything. So the decision making was utterly bizarre. I just don't understand what they were doing. And then Huddersfield and Rotherham to go down as well. Rotherham with a particularly miserable 5 wins in 46 matches, 29 losses. Okay, let's go abroad then. So we had big changes in the Bundesliga in terms of the hierarchy. The curse of Harry Kane. So, for the first time in 11 years, Bayern Munich did not win the Bundesliga. They actually didn't even come second in the end. Stuttgart, who had this outstanding season, nearly relegated the year before, to put into context. As were Leverkusen at one point, until Xabi Alonso took over, transformed them. Stuttgart, obviously I could talk about Leverkusen for hours, but Stuttgart had an absolutely outstanding season, thanks to Guirassy up front, but unfortunately he's already been bought, as the thing that usually happens with these teams that do unusually well, and someone has an absolutely outstanding season. By the standards, Bayern Munich probably upset with how they did, but they didn't do horrifically. They got 72 points. They did get 8 losses, I guess. Leverkusen obviously had 0, so the only time they lost, because they won the Pokal as well, the cup, was in the final of the Europa League against Atalanta. So they won 2 trophies last season and were invincible in the league, nearly invincible entirely. I mean, where do you go from there? And obviously Xabi Alonso turned down Liverpool, turned down Bayern Munich, said, no, I'm staying here, which I think I cannot praise him enough. It's so tiresome when someone has a good season, they immediately move, and then they don't do that well again. Why not stay and build something? He's got Champions League football next year. you know, if they play anything like that, they're going to be in the final stages of the Champions League, aren't they? And then Leipzig and Dortmund make up the top 5 for the European Championships of next season. I mean, specifically the Champions League, because Frankfurt and Hoffenheim are going into the Europa League, and Heidenheim, yes, Heidenheim, are going into the Europa League and the Conference League, excuse me. Big teams like Werder Bremen just missing out on goal difference, and Freiburg, shockingly enough. And then down the bottom, lovely Cologne go down, Darmstadt and Bochum were in the playoff. How did they do in the playoff? They won on penalties against Düsseldorf. Union Berlin, just after finishing the Champions League, obviously the year before, just avoided relegation on the last day with goal difference. Incredible. So well done to the German teams. Let's go to Italy. I watched a lot of Italian football last year, as I'm a Roma fan. Very excited about 2 of their signings, incidentally. Some of you asked me in the comments. Since then, the signings of Sule and the Ukrainian up front have really excited me. I hope that we can get a couple more wide players in. We need more to fit De Rossi's style. But obviously, Roma are pretty bored now of just missing out on Champions League football. 5 teams, same as Germany, went into the going into the Champions League this season. There was a situation where if Atalanta didn't win one of the matches, the last 2 matches of the season, then Roma would also have qualified. It would have been an unprecedented 6 teams from Italy, but Atalanta won quite easily in the end. I think it was like 3-0, 4-0. And that scuppered that, unfortunately. But the surprise package wasn't Atalanta. They've always been there and thereabouts. And they have been in the Champions League before. Bologna, however. But, just like in other situations, what could have happened at Bayer Leverkusen, you know, the manager going and selling all their best players, that is happening to Bologna. So I'm a little bit concerned about how they're going to do in the Champions League, because their manager, Thiago Motta, has gone to Juve. They've sold already their big striker Zirkzee to Man United, and there are other things happening as well. So I'm a little bit concerned about Bologna and how they are going to cope in the Champions League. I didn't realise Italiano had gone there. Vincenzo Italiano got 2 finals with Fiorentina in back-to-back years, lost both of them unfortunately. So yeah, he's a very good manager actually, so maybe they'll be okay. But his Fiorentina side, I've never really seen them above 7th, 8th. They're good in cup competitions, but they're not that good in the league, so I think Bologna will drop off next season. Inter obviously had an absolutely outstanding season, only 2 losses all year. AC Milan, by their standards, had a great season, but it just was nowhere near Inter. Juve were up and down. They did really well at the beginning, then they slumped. They're not consistent enough at the minute to challenge for a title. Atalanta finished the league in amazing form. If they continue like that, then they could be title contenders. But they themselves started the season very poorly, and would look down here at one point. Bologna, as I said, the surprise package, did really well. Roma started poorly under Mourinho. They sacked Mourinho. De Rossi came in. They couldn't do anything but win. It was amazing. And then they sort of sunk off towards the end of the season as they got another deep into another European competition, semi-final, till only lost to Bayer Leverkusen, of course. No shame in that. Yeah, just desperately need a striker, and we have bought one now, so I'm optimistic with Soule scores a lot of goals as well on the wing, and he's young, and we've kept Dybala. He's not gone to England like we thought he was going to go, so hope it's the hope that kills you. Maybe Roma can do it and finally get into the Champions League. And then Lazio were really, they haven't had a great season themselves, but they did come back towards the end. But they've lost their manager as well. Who is that? Who's the new manager then? Marco Baroni. I don't really know much about him, but they lost their previous manager. He quit. And then Fiorentina make up the top 8, and 8 teams in European competitions next year for Italy who've had this resurgence at European level in the last couple of years. Napoli, who of course won the league last year, only finished down in 10th. That's how competitive this league was, again, apart from the top. Honourable mentions to Genoa, who's back in the big time. They did really well. Monza, on a meagre budget, small stadium, did brilliantly. A lot of people are buying their best players, so they do sell. They're a selling club, but they did brilliantly. Verona, after being in the there was actually a playoff last year because 17 and 18 finished with exactly the same point, as it nearly happened there again. Look, so they did a lot better. 13th, Lecce did brilliantly. Udinese had a very underwhelming season. Cagliari are back. Empoli just survived the drop after being battered by everyone early in the season, but somehow the new manager managed to turn it around. And after a couple of some brilliant seasons in the top flight, Sassuolo are going down, along with Salernitana and Frosinone. Okay, let's go to La Liga. So Real Madrid won in the end, 10 points ahead of their rivals Barcelona. And obviously Barcelona have changed their managers. They've got Hansi Flick now. But they still got these money problems. They've just got this massive... they don't seem to want to sell anyone today. They just keep they keep buying. But they've got no money, but they keep buying. I don't really understand the situation. Anyway, so Girona, congrats to them. Congrats to Real Madrid as well, obviously. Congrats to Girona for breaking into the top 4. They are starting, unfortunately, same as the other clubs, to sell their best players. They already sold Dovbyk. Well, they've got quite a few players in though. Donny van der Beek is decent. Brian Hill, Romeo from Barcelona is 32 now, but he's pretty decent. Oh, Krejci is very good from international Czechia defender. Porto, interesting. They did quite well actually in their recruitment. But losing Dovbyk obviously is massive, because he had the Pichichi for the most goals, so outscored anyone for Real Madrid and Barcelona, and their player who's on loan has gone back to can't see him, to where? Man City. Atletico Madrid making up the top 4 as usual. Athletic Club tried their best to break into the top 4, but they did win the Spanish Cup, so they're definitely in the Europa League next year. Real Sociedad also. I think Real Sociedad are probably the more likely to get into the top 4 next season. Real Betis in 7th. And then some big teams having a better season, but not getting into Europe. Villarreal and Valencia. Celta Vigo avoiding the drop. Not by much, I know it's deceiving. 13th place. It's still only actually 33. No, this mid-section here is very competitive, but not so much. So going down, Cádiz, Almería and Granada. We say adios to those. And then let's go to, well, actually honourable mentions. So it was quite exciting in the end for the Premier League. in Russia, but Zenit pipped Krasnodar and Dinamo to the title. Dinamo were top on the last day and had to win their last game in order to win their first Premier League in I don't know how many years. What did they go and do? They lost it to Krasnodar, who themselves couldn't win them because Zenit won. So it was going to be the first time that Zenit didn't win it in about 12 years or something crazy. So last day drama. And we had a new winner in Poland in the Ekstraklasa because Jagiellonia Białystok won the league for their first ever time, pipping on goal difference. How exciting. Słask Wrocław, who only have ever won the title once themselves, beating that sort of Legia Warszawa, Lech Poznan and Raków Częstochowa, who won it last year, down in 7th. So quite an exciting last day in those leagues. Let's go to France. Angers are back up for next year, that's interesting. So Paris Saint-Germain obviously won it. So same situation as most of the leagues apart from Germany, where, you know, a very predictable winner. But then, just like the other leagues, we had the Brest getting in the top 3, meaning that they get Champions League, automatic qualification of the Champions League. Lille have a qualification round. Nice to see them back in there. And Monaco back into second, so it'd be nice to see them back in the Champions League as well. Stinker of a season for Marseille. Nice dropped off mid-season and then had to come back. But they were top at one point early season, but they had a slump in the middle of the season that cost them a Champions League spot. Lens did well after doing well last year, and Lyon, well, I think at Christmas they were bottom. They bought very wisely in the January transfer window and got up to 6th at one point. They were absolutely unbeatable, and I thought they were going to get even higher. So well done to Lyon. Stinker of a season for Marseille. They really should be having Champions League football every year with the stadium and the support and the players that they have. And Rennes as well, a few excuses there. And going down are Lorient and Clermont Foot. Metz, did they go down? Yeah, they did. They're in League 2, League 2. And they lost their top striker as well. Okay, so that is the top 5 leagues. We'll just look at a couple of others. Honourable mentions. Eredivisie, obviously new winner this year, PSV Eindhoven, by a bit of a stretch over last year's winner Feyenoord, with Twente making up the top 3. That's right, Ajax didn't make it, and they instead are in the Conference League next year. Well done to Alkmaar for finishing above them in 4th. And then we'll take a look at the Super League in Turkey, where we had quite an interesting battle at the end, but Galatasaray won it, so they have got back-to-back titles over Fenerbahce. Terrible season for Besiktas, who hopefully will bounce back in this upcoming season. Well done to Trab and Başakşehir, and very well done to Kasımpaşa, much smaller team comparatively, who managed to nearly get into Europe. And Scotland, so Celtic won. It was a lot closer for a while, but then Rangers just kind of fell. It's like they came to a complete halt at the end of the season. So Celtic won it comparatively easy at the end, but it was neck to neck for a long time. And then Hearts, Killie and St Mirren make up the top 5. Be hoping for a better season from Aberdeen and possibly Hibs as well. Next season, Ross County and Livingston down the bottom there. Belgium. Belgium has had some really exciting ends to the last days in the season, and we've got a new winner again, Club Bruges. Poor Union Saint-Gilloise just can't manage to get this title. Anderlecht, who were leading it for a long time, finished in 3rd. Brilliant season for Cercle Bruges, who usually are down here somewhere. Did a lot better, and Genk make up the top. Oh no, Genk and Gent, who won the playoff. Just scroll all the way to the end to find out. Gent did it. But that does mean that last year's winner doesn't even finish in Europe, which is a shame for them. Okay, Portugal. All change in Portugal. Sporting won by 10 points over last year's winner Benfica. Porto did manage to get third, but they were pushed by Braga for quite some time, who did finish third last year, Braga, but fourth this year, and Vitória de Guimarães finishing fifth, so well done to them. So Champions League for Sporting and Benfica. There was quite a sort of interesting end in the Superliga in Denmark as well. Last year's winner Copenhagen dropped off at the end and finished below their rivals Brøndby, and Midtjylland finished top, so they'll be back in the Champions League, well, qualifiers this year. So yeah, Copenhagen are only in the Conference League after doing so well in the Champions League. Surely, if they did that well in the Champions League, they have to be thinking that they get quite far, I think, in the Conference League, surely. And then in Greece, PAOK finished top, AK Athens second, Olympiacos third, Panathinaikos fourth, but I think Panathinaikos won the cup, so I think they're in Europe as well. I think we're going to see a little bit of a resurgence in Europe from the Greek teams. At the minute, only one in the Champions League, and they have to have a playoff, but I can see them going up if they have as good a season, some of their teams, as they did last year. Some really outstanding performances from teams like Olympiacos, for example. Okay, the Prva Liga in Czechia. Very good battle between the two Prague giants, Sparta and Slavia, and Sparta won it by 2 points in the end. Viktoria Plzeň in third, Baník Ostrava in fourth, and Mlada Boleslav in fifth. Bohemians, the other Prague team, just managing to avoid relegation, which is good. And Switzerland, we saw young boys who weren't leading all season. Servette were right up there, Lugano as well, Zurich a little bit, but along with St. Gallen, they make up the runners-up. But you know, Lugano do get Champions League playoff spot, as do young boys, so that's good for Swiss football. Okay, and honourable mention to the Welsh. TNS obviously won it, and I'm kind of following TNS a little bit because I hope that they can maybe make it into European competition for the first time ever. They're doing pretty well. They can afford to lose at the minute and still get into the playoffs for the Conference League, so I kind of don't want them in the Europa League. I don't know how they did tonight, I haven't checked it yet. They probably lost. But I think they'd be destroyed if they got into the Europa League. But if they got into the Conference League, you know, a win or a draw out of their 6 matches, or 8 matches now, is it? No, 6 in the conference, I think would just be so fantastic for Welsh football. And Connah's Quay second, Bala third, and I saw Carnarvon, who won in the playoff, get a decent distance in Europe. They won their first ever game, I think. So well done to them. They're out now, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just hoping that it's a bit more competitive. I'd like to see someone else win it away from TNS. Okay, and I think I will stop there. Sorry if I didn't mention your league. Forgive me, but that's already way longer than I wanted this video to be anyway, so good for you. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to press like, subscribe if this is the first time here. We do weekly results videos on this channel, and drop me a comment and let me know how you think your season went. So just to remind you again, videos coming soon. I've got a kit video for Premier League, Championship, and also then I will do a video predicting the top 5 in every major league in Western Europe as well. So look out for that. Oh, and I'm going to do some transfer videos pretty soon, now that things are hotting up in the transfer market. So I hope all those excite you and equally relax you. And I hope that you're nice and relaxed now, maybe even asleep. Don't forget to join my Patreon, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and bye-bye.